Hey there, lovely people. Welcome back to another Writing Tip Tuesday. I'm Sammy, and I'm a writer who likes to help other writers become better writers. This week, I want to talk to you about imposter syndrome, which, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like feeling like you're a fraud for doing things that you are absolutely definitely qualified to do, which can happen a lot in any aspect of your life. It can happen in work, it can happen in your creative field, it can happen literally for anything. But what I'm going to be talking about is imposter syndrome with your writing, though a lot of these techniques that I'm going to bring up are recommended for general imposter syndrome, not just imposter syndrome in a writing scenario. I'll just be giving writing examples. So what does imposter syndrome feel like? It feels like you're lying about who you are or what you're capable of doing to other people, and that you feel like a fraud for doing what you are absolutely capable of doing because you don't internally feel like you are capable of doing it. Examples of this feeling could be thinking, I want to be a writer someday, even though you've been writing for days or months or years regularly. That would make you a writer because you are writing. But because you feel that imposter syndrome, you say, I want to be a writer. You're missing some sort of qualification that makes it so you can call yourself a writer. Writing makes you a writer. Wanting to write and then doing it makes you a writer. You may feel like you don't deserve things such as compliments, being published, fans of your writing, whatever step you're at right now, whatever you are getting that is positive reinforcement for what you're doing, you may feel like you don't deserve it because you think you're a fraud, even though you aren't a fraud. It's just like a defensive mechanism that your brain does for some reason. And experiencing imposter syndrome can create a feeling of writer's block if you let imposter syndrome overpower the truth of the situation. How do you overcome imposter syndrome in the grand scheme of things? You want to make sure that you are believing the truth and not imposter syndrome, which can be really, really hard because imposter syndrome likes to pretend that it is the truth. I would start off with the easy things. If you write, you are a writer. You are a writer if you write. If you take a couple of days off from writing, but you write pretty often, and you think about writing, you are a writer. You can't want to be a writer if you are writing. You are doing it already. So keep that in mind. That is the truth. Keep in mind that people enjoy your writing, assuming that other people have read it. People enjoy your writing. And while some people may not enjoy your writing, people enjoy your writing, and art is subjective. So the fact that people enjoy your writing is more important. So people enjoy your writing is something you're gonna wanna keep in mind if you've had other people read your writing. You may want to try writing down the truth. So if your imposter syndrome brings up something like your prose is bad, you write really bad, you've got bad word choice, you're bad at this, you're never gonna be like author. If that's something that your imposter syndrome tells you, you're gonna wanna write down the truth, which is usually the opposite, and try writing it down with your name rather than I or my. So like, instead of my writing is good, write down like, Sammy's writing is good. Sammi does good prose. That wasn't good prose, but you know what I mean. Try writing those down so that you can have a list to reference and somewhere to look to add to or to directly combat that imposter syndrome when it comes up. How do you beat imposter syndrome when you have it in the moment? When you're not like actively thinking, I am not gonna let imposter syndrome beat me up. When you're just like, it pops up while you're in the process. Catch them. Catch the negative thoughts that you're experiencing and tell them the truth instead. Say like, when you're writing and it's like this paragraph just keeps not working or whatever, and you think I'm a terrible writer because I can't get this paragraph to work. It's so bad. Keep in mind that you are a good writer and sometimes things just don't work out on the first try and you haven't had a chance to look at it with fresh eyes yet. That's the truth. Imposter syndrome wants you to give up. It's trying to protect you from the experience of disappointment. And somehow by disappointing you in the moment, it thinks it's saving you from disappointment. I don't understand the brain's logic, but it's there. We have to actively work against it every day to be able to achieve things because we are not, in fact, running for our lives every day. Most of us are just sort of hanging out, trying to exist. If you get caught in a loop of just trying to think the opposite and then regularly like coming back to the same thing, so your imposter syndrome is overpowering the truth, try saying what your imposter syndrome wants you you to say, but sarcastically, because you can hear the tone and you can hear that it's not true, and your imposter syndrome might be like, oh, sweet, so you believe it. Cool. But your brain, your subconscious is going to take in the words for what their value is, not the value of the tone. So if you're like, wow, I am a terrible writer, like that's what you're saying. So you just switch it to, I'm like the greatest writer ever. Everything I've ever written is just like solid gold. You're going to be able to move past the imposter syndrome. You're going to be able to move past that constant cycle of feeling bad by telling yourself something that feels like a lie in a way that it feels like a lie, but by saying the words that are the truth, you will overcome the imposter syndrome and be able to continue moving forward. It may take a little bit. You might not be able to say, I am like the best writer ever, and then immediately get back into the groove of things. It may take a little while, but it will work eventually. And if either of those things aren't overcoming it the most, maybe check in with somebody who's read your writing that you trust, that you know will tell you the truth about the situation, and let them know, hey, I don't feel like I'm doing a good job. I don't feel like my writing is very good. I want to know what you think, and have them tell you the truth, because sometimes hearing it from someone else is what you need to keep moving forward. Some general things that I want to just point out to just keep in mind. Some notes on imposter syndrome. If something doesn't work out, if like you submit to an agent or a publisher or a competition or something along those lines and it doesn't go through, that's not a reflection on you as a writer. That's a reflection on you not being a good fit for that particular thing at the moment. If that's where you want to work towards, if that's where you want to be, that's the agent you want, that's the publisher you want, that's the competition you want to win, whatever it is that you got rejected from, either they are not a good fit for you and you should try a different option, a different direction to go in, or you should take it as a motivator. Something to say, okay, well, I felt good about my editing, but I'm gonna read through it again and see if there's anything I think could be stronger. I'm gonna have somebody else read through it and have them see if there's anything that they think can be stronger. For a lot of those competitions, publishers, agents, etc., they're only reading a short part of your story. A lot of publishers and agents will set if they're engaged by this point, they'll reach out to you. If they're not engaged by that point, it's a rejection. If they aren't taking on clients at that particular time, if they aren't looking for anything at that particular time, they'll reject you. It's not always you are bad at anything. In fact, most of the time it is not you are bad at anything. It's that they've got these really subjective rules, these arbitrary rules that do not reflect you as a writer. So either reach out to them and ask what's going on, or try something else. Rejection shows that you are trying. Rejection shows that you are submitting things. Rejection shows that you are putting yourself out there into the world and putting forth a product that you want people to see. And just because you're being rejected doesn't mean that that's a reflection on you as a writer. There's a lot of writers who turn their rejection into a game where they're like, I'm gonna get 100 rejections this year because I'm gonna submit to that many things. And a lot of them don't achieve that, because they don't get rejected at some point. And that's the important part, is just keep putting yourself out there. So don't let your imposter syndrome gain fuel from a rejection. That's not what it should be gaining fuel. It should be a motivator. And if you catch yourself feeling like a fraud because you got rejected from something, keep in mind your list of things that are true and checking in with other people, and that agents they're not like treating you like a person. And that's just sort of what it is. They don't see you as a person who put their heart and tears and blood and sweat into this piece of writing that they have in front of them. They just say, that's not for us, and then move on, because they have so many submissions coming through. That's what's the best for them. And even though it's not the best for you, you gotta keep in mind that they're not there to make you feel better. You're there to make you feel better. And you are totally capable of making yourself feel better. Do not let the fear of failure stop you from trying. Don't let the fear of rejection stop you from submitting. The only way to get an absolute no, an absolute this is never ever gonna happen, you are never going to succeed, is to absolutely never try. To never submit, if you never ask, you'll never know. The answer is always no. It's as simple as that. So don't let the fear of the possibility of no make the answer no for you, because that's imposter syndrome talking. That's not you. You don't want that. Keep that in mind and keep your list of the truth on hand. But that is all that I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something from it, please leave a like. It'll really help me out and show YouTube that maybe more people will enjoy and learn something from this video. If you don't want to miss any of my uploads, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. I'm here every Tuesday and Saturday for Writing Tip Tuesdays and Story Study Saturdays. If you have anything that you've been struggling with on your writing or anything that you would like just an outside perspective on, I would be happy to do some research. If you have any questions about your writing process that you would like any Writing Tip Tuesday, leave me a comment down below and I will check it out. But otherwise, I will see you guys on Saturday for a story study. Jesus Christ! The lighting just keeps changing. I may have to set that to auto because it just keeps changing. Oh my goodness. Shout out to the sun, am I right?